So in this video, we are going to solve this exercise. Looking at this exercise for the first time, you must be thinking, are we repeating ourselves? But there is a twist, and the twist is construct a function intersection that compares input arrays and returns a new array with the element found in all the inputs. This is the twist. You can only use reduce method to do this. The same goes for union. So you remember we have already done this. I explained it to you what is the meaning of intersection and what is the meaning of union. Here the only thing that we have to change is like we were using kind of a for loop. But here we will have to do it using reduce. So if you just try to understand, if you remember what are the things we talked about earlier, whenever you're doing intersection or union, you will need access to two arrays at the same time so you can compare it. The first array and the second array. How are we going to do that? Using reduce. So let's see. First thing, we are going to get n number of arrays, right? So we are going to use a rest operator. So we have access to all the arrays. I'm going to say whatever return from arrays, because that is the question, is like you have to use reduce. Now in reduce, how do you get access to multiple arrays at the same time? First, let's write the basic structure of reduce. Reduce accepts two parameters, a callback function and the initial value. Initial value can be an array. The callback function gets access to accumulator, current value. The current value can be a single array. So here, the twist is one variant of reduce that we don't use it a lot. So here we will try to use that. So let's just see, we have an array. The value of that is 1, 12, 3, 4, 5. This is our array. I'm going to say array.reduce. Reduce accepts two parameter, callback function, and an optional initial value. So if we pass the initial value of an array, here we get access to accumulator and current value. I'm just going to do console.log accumulator and current value. Press enter. For the first time, we see the accumulator is a basic. Accumulator is the initial value that we passed and CV is the first value. For the second time, the value of accumulator is undefined. Why? Because we are not returning anything from this function. We are calling console log. So it becomes undefined. And 3, 4, 5. So that is what is happening. We have seen it earlier. What happens when we don't pass any parameter? And here I'm just going to say, what happens when we don't pass any parameter? What happens when we don't pass the second parameter, that is initial value, to reduce? Press enter. And what we can see here is when you don't pass the initial value, the first value becomes the initial value of accumulator and second value becomes the first value of CV. Can you see the difference here? It was happening 4 times and this is happening only 3 times. Why? Because the first value became the first value of accumulator rather than initial value. And that is what we are going to use. So here we will not pass any parameter. In that way, what will happen? This will become the accumulator for the first time and this will become my CV. So do we have access to two things right now? We have. So let us see and make it work. So first thing we'll do is return accumulator. This is the place where we are going to change the accumulator. So let's look at the logic that we have wrote. So this is our first, this is our second. For us right now, first is accumulator and second is CV. So this is what we are going to write. We'll change this by saying accumulator is the first. So I'm going to change accumulator by filtering accumulator and checking whether it includes in CV or not. That is the only trick we needed to do. We needed to understand how can we get access to two arrays at the same time. We did it. And I think that's all we need to do. It will work properly. If you need to understand this logic, watch that video again and you'll understand it. Paste it, press enter, and here we go. And here we go. We get the value 5 and 15. So it is working properly. Now you must be thinking, just knowing that trick, Now you can do this very easily. So here I'm going to spread this. Next thing we are going to do is to return whatever is coming out from arrays dot reduce, and we are not going to use the second parameter because that's the trick, right? Here we are going to get access to accumulator and current value. If we are not passing the initial value, the first value will become accumulator, that is this. And let's look at the logic again. So here this is our logic. So I'll copy this part again, and first thing we'll do is return accumulator, and here we'll say change first with accumulator and change second with current value. We are done. Copy it, paste it here, press enter, and we go. We have the value. This is union and this is intersection. So in this way we completed this exercise, and we also completed this exercise of creating intersection and union but using reduce.